I think income inequality can be an issue, but I don't believe that it is an issue. If you look back at centuries past, the amount of income inequality there was really quite shocking, even compared to today's standards. The vast amount of wealth held by a few and the sheer poverty by the vast majority. So I think that would be quite damaging to a society. But income inequality is necessary to create incentives to advance oneself and to work hard. If you look at the mobility of people in various income groups, it is higher now more so than ever in the past. Someone who was born into the lowest income category has a great possibility with hard work of getting into the highest income inequality, and that was never really available in the past. The Gini coefficient is a common way of measuring income inequality, but it falls down on many areas. It does not take into consideration with regard to education, the quality of education, the level of education obtained, and the grade obtained. So you could have some person with a PhD and another person with a junior cert, and realistically they, in most circumstances, would have different incomes. And I think that is justified. They have different levels of training, different levels of education. It also doesn't take into consideration years of experience. Someone who has spent their entire life in the workforce and is very knowledgeable is likely to earn a lot more than someone who is just newly entrant into the workforce. It also does not take into consideration the sector of employment. By this I mean someone could take up a career in teaching, which is a vocational profession. The hours are quite favourable compared to working as, say, a doctor or an investment banker, where there is, in particular with investment banking, there is very little kind of personal kind of inward feeling of contributing something to society, which you would get with teaching, and there is a monetary difference in compensation to represent this. Regional differences are an important factor in looking at income inequality as well. Someone who's living in London is likely to earn substantially more than someone who's living in North England or in rural England, where the costs of living are a lot lower. So the person living in London would have to get paid higher, and they don't take this into consideration. Also not taken into consideration is hours worked. Some people, could have an income double that of someone else. They could earn the same, but one of them could work doubly. I think there is an emphasis by some people and in some countries on trying to create a fair society. I would suggest that a fair society is not obtainable, because looking at income is not the only way of measuring life. Someone could be born with a disability or could have a degenerative disease, and it's impossible to make life fair by taking money from one place and giving it to another. Who puts a monetary value on these things in order to try and create an equal society? So